going back and commemorating 1 year anniversary of the aggression that began in Gaza and now extended to Lebanon. And as we reflect, we take a look at a number of issues, and again, looking at this occupying entity called Israel in terms of the war that it is waging. Now, it is waging this war on many fronts. We know what is taking place in Palestine, now extended to Lebanon, but also against innocent people, against civilian life. There is a war of the media. And at the end of the day, uh, we've even heard the latest come out from the United States of America, the Vice President Kamala Harris, in an interview, talking about the support of the United States of America, and particularly looking at the limitless supply of U.S. weapons to Israel to continue with this genocide. And this is what my next guest, Christian Henderson, assistant professor at Leiden University in the Netherlands. He actually on X, this was a message that he has talked about these two types of war that Israel is waging in Palestine and Lebanon. Christian, good morning to you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, as we reflect in what has been taking place in the last year, and I'm sure you've had the opportunity to sit back, to analyze, to look at this genocide that has unfolded in detail, and also looking at it from the occupying entity's perspective in terms of the war, the nature, the type of the war that or aggression that it has undertaken both in Gaza and Lebanon.
Yeah. So, I mean, after a year, I think, we need to, first of all, be totally clear that the effects of this war on Palestinians in Gaza has been devastating. The loss of life has been huge. The official figure of the death toll, excuse me, is now around 40,000, but it's very likely that the real figure is much higher. The number of indirect deaths as a result of the problems that have been experienced in Gaza over the last year, such as lack of food, lack of safe water, lack of housing, lack of medical care, have all attributed to a much higher level of death. And there are reports that are circulating which suggest that between 100 and 200,000 people may have died in total. And I think these are a reflection of genocidal tactics that Israel is using, and that's very clear, I think. Now, from Israel's perspective, they are very well equipped to fight this war of what I would call a war of genocide, in the sense that they have endless supply of weapons from the United States. They have some of the most sophisticated weaponry, such as F-35 planes, bunker buster bombs, a huge arsenal of weapons. And the US has been completely committed to a constant supply of weapons to Israel. I think there were days over the last year, when there were 5 military transporters of weapon deliveries arriving in Israel on a daily basis. So they can fight a war where they can destroy property, destroy lives, destroy civilian infrastructure very, very easily. And we saw that in Lebanon recently, when they assassinated Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah. They used, I think it was 85 bunker buster bombs when they took out an entire block of apartments and the bunker underneath, and that was a good example of the kind of firepower that they have. But I think we should also think about the fact that there is another war taking place on the ground, which Israel is finding a lot more difficult, and you can see that in the Gaza Strip. In terms of, they can destroy properties, destroy lives, but holding territory is much more difficult for them. And Hamas are still not defeated. They're still operating in Gaza. They're still resisting against Israeli operations. They're still inflicting casualties on Israelis. And this is a kind of ground war. And it really is a reflection of the kind of limitations of firepower, of air supremacy, of air firepower, that is quite a common reality, I think, in these kind of counterinsurgency wars. And you can also see the same kind of problems for the Israeli military in Lebanon. You know, they've destroyed parts of Lebanon now, but actually taking territory in South Lebanon is a lot more difficult for them. They have been experiencing quite a high rate of casualties when they've crossed the border into Lebanon. Hezbollah has also been, excuse me, quite effective at resisting these invasions. So this is what really kind of led me to describe the current situation as a war. There are two wars: a war of genocide and a military war. And I think it's interesting to make a with other counterinsurgency wars in history. So, for example, you could look at Vietnam, and Vietnam, of course, is a good example of a case where the US dropped huge levels of bombs on the countryside, but they could not defeat the North Vietnamese, and eventually they lost the war. So the situation is awful, it's terrible. The humanitarian situation for Palestinians and now Lebanese is dire, but there is, I would argue, some ongoing resistance on the ground.
Thank you for that, Christian. We're going to put you on hold. I'm going to go for a quick ad break. We'll continue after this.
Sure.
Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
The people of Palestine need your support now. Africa Muslims Agency is on the ground, already providing food, medication, and emergency supplies in Gaza. Donate any amount to Heal Palestine at africamuslimsagency.co.za. Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Albait has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaitlodge.co.za.
Searching for elite local and international investment and advisory services from an award-winning firm? Look no further than the Belmont Mayer Group, your gateway to unparalleled investment and wealth management. At Belmont Mayer, we believe in the art of wealth creation, a meticulous process fueled by our unwavering commitment to excellence. With a focus on providing elite alternative investments and quality advice, we also pride ourselves on maximizing value for our esteemed investors, as seen through our consistent outperformance. Your financial success is our top priority. Join us at Belmont Mayer and experience the difference firsthand. Ready to embark on a journey of greatness? Contact us today. Reach out to the Belmont Mayer Group on 078 786 1698. Call or WhatsApp or email us at info@belmontmayer.com. Elevate your financial future with Belmont Mayer, where every detail matters.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Well, as we continue with our special broadcast, this all-day broadcast commemorating the 7th of October, reflecting on what has happened in the last year, the genocidal aggression against the people of Palestine, and now extended to Lebanon. And we continue with my guest this morning, Christian Henderson, assistant professor at the Leiden University out in Netherlands. And Christian, just to continue now, you obviously come from a very, very strong position where you are knowledgeable of the people of Lebanon, and I'm sure Gaza, Palestine is no exception, is no different, because you spent a fair amount of time in Lebanon, and you've got some very, very good memories, I would say, of Lebanon. And again, just to understand the people of Lebanon now that this genocide and this aggression has been extended to Lebanon, and also what the people of Gaza has gone through. Just looking and just understanding, and perhaps even just share some of your thoughts, some of your memories, but also in terms of the spirit against all this aggression that has taken place against the people of Lebanon, and I would say even Gaza.
So I was a journalist before I became an academic. I was a journalist, and I was in Lebanon during the 2006 war. I used to live in Lebanon, and so I experienced that war. And I would say that first of all, I mean, again, the situation in Lebanon is very bad, and the air supremacy of the Israelis in Lebanon allow it to, destroy houses, destroy civilian infrastructure. It allows it to force people to move, to displace them, to dispossess them of temporarily of their villages and land. But I would also say that in Lebanon, there is a sense of resilience and a sense of steadfastness that people understand there, that they have to express a sense of solidarity with each other and a sense of unity during these times. And I think one of the calculations of Israel is that it can essentially divide people and weaken people and terrorize people through the tactics that it's used. And I would question whether that is actually will have those outcomes. And I would imagine also that the idea that the Hezbollah has been defeated, which is a narrative that is circulating, is also one that I would be skeptical of. I think Hezbollah has taken some quite extreme losses lately in terms of the loss of their leadership, which have been a real setback for the group. There's no doubt about it. But the idea that it's militarily defeated, I would be cautious about that. And, you know, you may find that in these moments, historically, you know, new leaders come up through the ranks, new understandings of strategies and tactics emerge. So you may there may be a kind of, this may be a turning point for Hezbollah, but also other groups in Lebanon. The thing that I think is concerning about Lebanon is that, unlike 2006, the country has gone through quite a severe economic crisis. And that means that people were already impoverished before the war started. People were already out of work. They had problems accessing cash. And that creates a new set of challenges. And also the government is broke as well. So the ability of the people and the state to kind of manage this crisis is less. Now, in terms of Palestine and Gaza, I have been to Gaza before, excuse me, quite a long time ago, but not any time recently. But the situation there is really difficult. I mean, it's a humanitarian disaster. And I think the reality is that Palestinians in Gaza have no alternative but to try and survive on a daily basis, despite all of the incredible hardships that they face. And I think that there is also a sense of resilience that Palestinians have there, that there is an understanding that they have to try and survive. So, you know, again, any attempt to break them or terrorize them through these genocidal tactics, I would be skeptical about how effective that will be.
Yes, Christian. In fact, you know, obviously, today marks the end of 1 year, but also it's the beginning of another. And it's going to be obviously quite interesting to see what develops from here onwards, where on the one hand, you have got a right-wing government in Israel that is hell-bent on a path of destruction like no other. And I'm sure they're not going to let up. But again, the point that you had made is with the support of the likes of the United States of America, a limitless amount of weapons coming through. So as long as that happens, you know, it's obviously it's going to continue unless something gives, something drastic actually gives, because we know the US elections are coming up as well. I made mention earlier on about Kamala Harris, again, continuing the commitment, but also looking at how this is likely to extend into the region, because what we're seeing now is the fact that the Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, was killed on Israel, on Iranian soil as well, and trying to force this now onto Iran and force this into something bigger from a regional perspective, Christian.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, in terms of the US, I think we need to be very clear on the fact that the US is in full support of Israeli tactics, Israeli strategy. They are totally appear to be completely comfortable with the genocide in Gaza. They appear to be completely comfortable with the kind of aggression and ruthlessness that Israel has shown, and that is, I think that's important to clarify. Now, in terms of what happens at a regional level, or in terms of, you know, what might change this trajectory, you know, I think we are at the risk of a regional war. And I think that there are a kind of set of sort of characteristics at play here that make a regional war quite likely. You know, unconditional US support for Israel, the fact that Israel has consistently shown that it is not interested in negotiations, not interested in compromise, not interested in, you know, it is crossing all boundaries. And I think from an Iranian perspective, you know, they are now in a frame of mind where they understand that they have to create some sort of deterrent because they felt threatened, obviously, and we could see that in the missile attack that took place a week ago. Now, internationally, I think there's another thing that we should talk about, and I think it's particularly relevant to you coming from South Africa, which is that, you know, there has been a moral failure, a fundamental moral failure within the Western countries. And they have shown that they are simply not interested in applying international law in a situation where their ally and their interests may be negatively affected. And I think this has been quite shocking for many of us, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not like I am naive about Western countries and their history and colonial history. I understand that they are, you know, have behaved far from morally and ethically in the past. But it's been very shocking to me to see that, you know, institutions in the West simply do not recognize what's happened in Gaza as a crime, as a terrible crime to humanity. And what's interesting is that it is South Africa that actually has stood up and said that this is unacceptable and that this is a crime against humanity and must stop. So in a way, what's interesting is that I would be tempted to say that this is a reflection of kind of a process of decolonization in some ways. That, you know, the mantle for the rules-based international order is being passed from the former colonial states to the decolonized states, such as South Africa. And I think one of the things that we should, you know, commemorate on this day is that South Africa is the country that has stood up and attempted to stop this. And that is something that's very important.
Well, thank you very much for that, Christian. And I know we can engage a lot more, but for now, we do appreciate you taking time out with us this morning, right here on Salam Media. All the best to you, sir.
Yes, and thank you. Thanks for talking to me.
Christian Henderson joining us, assistant professor at the Leiden University. And we've got one more before we wrap up this morning's edition of News and Views. And remember, this is an all-day affair right here at Salam Media. We will be commemorating. We've got a lot more, and I will fill you in with some of those details towards the end of the broadcast. But what we need to do, in the message is loud and clear. We have to work hard. We have to continue, regardless, ceasefire now. We need to elevate our advocacy for the ceasefire now campaign for Palestinian and for all oppressed people on earth. Remember, this is not about numbers, and also we refuse to be targeted, because that is a message of Malik Shweiki, who is an active member of the Palestine Institute for Public Diplomacy organization, PIPD. It is a Jerusalem-based, he is Jerusalem-based. He's an activist and teacher and an educator in Palestine. We spoke to him at around 11th, when was it? Around the 11th of March, 2024.
They try to find solutions to keep going on. They don't give up. They feel tired, but they take a rest, but then they get up again and they try to find solutions, because that's the only option that we have. They are creative. I know many creative women in my life. I know women who have been subjected to violence, subjected to oppression, yet they chose, and they always keep choosing to be creative in their own atmosphere of life. They are beautiful. and they take care of themselves. They try to show themselves all the time in the best shape ever, not for everyone, but for themselves. They try to take care of themselves because they know that they come first when it comes to continue living for all elements of their life, for their kids, for their families, mothers, fathers, husbands, whoever involved in their lives. They know that they are the core of living. We know that they are the core, and that doesn't mean that men are not the core. They are, but I mean sometimes women forget to look at themselves and how they're special, but they're well educated. I know many well educated women in Palestine. You know, there is zero literacy in Palestine, so women take care of they take good care of their education, and they refuse to be dehumanized. They refuse to be disrespected, and you can see that everywhere. They refuse it. They just reject it. They reject disrespect in all cases, and that's why they always are in clash with Israeli soldiers at checkpoints, just like who I am now, because they try to dehumanize and disrespect women, but they're always reject that and backlash it because it's not an accepted a manner of talk. They are brave. They stand up for themselves and for people around them. They are good emotional supporters. And they have they are a good community. Like women in Palestine do have good communities together as support. And yeah, they're smart. I know that they're smart. I'm talking from my point of view. We have to work hard for ceasefire now. We need to elevate our advocacy for a ceasefire now. Palestinians and all oppressed people on earth are not numbers, and we refuse to be targeted.